Hello there. What I'm going to do with this video is I'm going to kind of go over this computer system that I've got and kind of describe what I want to do with this. I built this rig about a decade ago, and the most recent upgrades this thing has seen is the graphics cards. The graphics cards I'm running are a couple of NVIDIA Quadro 4000s. Run them in a slide configuration. And it runs very well. I can still play like the newest Doom game without much problems. The only issue I'm having is the heat these cards generate. Anybody who knows anything about this particular series of cards knows that these things get hot. You could literally cook on how hot these things get. I only recently just got the second card put in. I was running just one for a little while, and I had it at the bottom of the case, so heat wasn't that big of a deal. However, now, running both of these cards, it's become a bit of a big deal. Over here I have EVGA up. Right now I got a game loading to ramp these cards up. There we go. I use EVGA primarily for the fan control. The stock fan control is very lax and allows these cards to get really hot. So by using manual fan control, I can keep the cards themselves in better temperature check because it's a more aggressive ramp. The main issue I'm having is when these cards start kicking in big time, it also causes my CPUs to get kind of hot. Specs I was able to find for my CPUs indicate that 56 degrees centigrade is the highest temperature they should have for peak performance. So I'm well over that now on my second CPU. And I really want to bring these temperatures down. The cards I had before were old GeForce 9800s, and I never had this issue because, well, they don't produce as much heat as these bad boys do. What you see me having in here right now is a airflow control to keep the CPU airflow and the graphics GPU airflow sections separate. The front of this case is all open, where there's not a drive slot, where there's not a drive taken. So the CPUs should be getting their own air, and the GPUs also their own air. There's a fan in the front pulling air in for those. Also have a little fan here on the side of the case window that I use for pulling the heat from these cards out the bottom of the case. Now the reason I'm using the 4000 series of cards is because, let's see if I can get a good view in over here. It's kind of hard to tell, but I can't use double height cards because I need all my slots. I have something in every single slot in this computer, so I can't use double height cards. I do plan on doing some major upgrades down the road to this computer, such as new graphics cards. I need to replace this case. I want to upgrade a hard drive array, and a few other things. However, the graphics cards I want to get are Quadro K4200s. and those things are still well over $300 even used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to liquid cool these GPUs. I want to do a little experiment with a alternate cooling method. Your average computer cooling system, you have a reservoir, pump, your water blocks, and a radiator. The only place I can put a radiator on this thing, because of these huge CPU heat sinks, will be on the back of the case, on the back of this 120mm case fan. And the only problem with that, A, it's on the outside. I want to try and keep everything inside if possible. But even bigger than that, the air being blown across the radiator is already going to be warm. So I don't think it's going to be effective enough to bring these bad boys down to a reasonable temperature where the radiant heat off the back of the cards is not causing the CPUs to get too hot. As you can see, the graphics card's fans are at max, the top one primarily. The bottom one's getting there. But also the bottom one's not being used quite as hard as the top one because it doesn't have a monitor attached to it, I guess. So my plan is to design a custom water loop just for the graphics cards. I'm not a big fan of water cooling in and of itself for your average home user because, you know, if you have a leak or whatever, then you can fry your components. However, I'm figuring if I have a problem, if it's just on the GPUs, then it won't fry the whole computer, in theory. Probably not a good theory on that point, but anyway. I'm just going to liquid cool the GPUs. And I'm thinking about a special system which I can keep it all internal inside the case. It's going to be probably a month or so before I get all the components and put this together. I'm having to do this a little at a time because, you know, money's kind of tight, you know, whatever. But I figure a liquid cooling system to keep these cool while I can get the rest of my upgrades and everything, and then eventually get the K series of cards, which don't run nearly as hot. But that's a long way down the road. So whenever I get all the components in and I actually start doing this, I'll have a list of components I bought and whatever. So until next time.